the Village Board for the Village of Woodridge on this Thursday, April 17th, 2025. We call the meeting to order at 7:02 PM and ask our clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee Krusek.
Present.
Trustee Page.
Present.
Trustee Martinez.
Present.
Trustee Blair.
Present.
Trustee Kagan.
Present.
Trustee Annalise.
Present.
Mayor Cunningham.
Present.
Quorum established.
Thank you very much. Before we conduct the Pledge of Allegiance, I'm going to ask, please, if we could take a moment of silence, and afterwards we will ask our audience and Trustee Krusek to please lead us in the pledge. Thank you.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We do have some wonderful recognition items this evening. And the first item is the recognition of retiring trustee Mike Krusek. And first, we would like to just take this time to recognize him for really completing his last village board meeting tonight. But it's been 12 years of dedicated service, and trustee Krusek began in May of 2015, but he was already volunteering throughout Woodridge and helped with the 50th anniversary and many other events and organizations that he participated in, as well as sports. And definitely always chose actions, I think, that and decisions that were geared towards the betterment of our community in every way. So we commend you, Mike, for your contributions to the village, in particular for your efforts and dedication and time and energy, again, for the betterment of our community and serving our community. We wish you the very best in your next chapter. And on behalf of the village board and myself, our village staff and team here, and of course, all of the citizens of Woodridge, we express our sincere gratitude from our hearts. Thank you very much for your leadership, your service, and all of your time. So wanted to say thank you very much. And
If I may say thank you, I just had a couple of things I wanted to thank here tonight. People I wanted to thank, starting with the staff, including the illustrious Chris Bethel. You don't know how hard this job can be and how easy the staff helps to make it, from Al all the way down to every single employee. And speaking not just as a trustee, but as a resident, I'm very grateful for all the people that we have working here in the village. They do a great job, and we are very fortunate to have all of them, both people that we've worked with in the past, the current staff, very, very good people, always have the best interests of the village at heart. I'd also like to thank everyone that's up here, the mayor, all my fellow board members, our clerk, our attorney. These people that sit up here and do this work to help make Woodridge a better place to live are among the best that I can think of. We might disagree on stuff, but you never see us leave a meeting mad at each other. We are very respectful, and I greatly appreciated the fact that for all these years, I've been able to work with people like this. Also want to thank my family for giving me time to do this stuff. And finally, I wanted to thank the residents of Woodridge. It's very humbling when you get elected and you realize the people actually voted for you to represent them. And I hope that I did a good job for everybody who put that trust in me. So thank you again, and I'm not going anywhere that I can think of anyway. So, but thanks, I really appreciate everybody's support.
again, thank you very much. Well, we thank you again very much. And we're going to continue some recognition, and we have a going to ask Director Bethel to please come up, the illustrious Director Bethel, to come up and with one of our only job I've heard you've ever had is at the Village of Woodridge, which
The only job.
I know that, but to hear it again today, I was like, that's incredible, Scott. So Director Bethel.
So Mayor and Board, this is Foreman Scott Ceramic, who was the recipient of the 2024 Tony Fowler Public Works Employee of the Year Award. And as the mayor was mentioning for our Christmas holiday party, we went around the room, asked everybody to say, what was your first job? And Scott's comment was, well, I've only had one job, and that's actually been with the Village of Woodridge. He grew up here. He was a seasonal here. He was hired in October 1st of 1990, promoted on May 1st, 2005 to being in charge of our road maintenance and forestry and snow and ice program. And that's where he's remained to this day. And tonight, and this award is a little bittersweet. Scott is actually winding down his career. October 1st is going to be his retirement. So he is busy at work on a number of projects and doing what he's done throughout his entire career in terms of teaching other people to kind of carry on. So Scott's award was primarily related to his role as a snow commander for the village, which is what he has led since 2005. And I'm just going to kind of hit some of the key points from that nomination and really what Scott does behind the scenes that a lot of residents and businesses are not necessarily aware of. So he develops our plan for routes, staffing, and timing with our vehicles and contractors for our snow operations. He works with our weather forecasting service to plan for the timing of staff. Is it in a rush hour? When are we going to get staff in? What's weather forecast? Just to make sure we can be responsive to the community. He coordinates with the police department, who's key in our operations after hours to let us know what might be happening. He plans and handles all of our truck preparation and maintenance during the off season. He's involved in the purchase of new equipment. He coordinates all of our contractors for work here in the town center and on the Janes Avenue campus. He coordinates with our 40 plus auxiliary drivers we hire every year in terms of training and oversight of them. And he coordinates all of our purchases for rock salt. And as you've known over the last 20 years, kind of our continuing use on liquids for de-icing and anti-icing in terms of cost, as well as being better for the environment. So Scott, really, his commitment is 24/7. Again, little known, he is on call every day during the winter. Weekends, day, he is always the guy that gets called unless he's on vacation. And he's really relished being that point person for delivering snow and ice services. And really, I'd be remiss, just kind of two final points here when it comes to emergency management, what Scott has done. The 2011 blizzard, those 20 plus inches in just over a day and a half, Scott was one of our lead supervisors who helped coordinate that response to the community. But he has used those same emergency management skills more recently for the Father's Day tornado in 2021. And we were short supervisors when that happened to hit. And so we were trying to coordinate all of our staff, this emergency response, 34 outside agencies. And Scott made, as he usually did, some very wise advice and commentary to all of us as we were stressing. He said, guys, this is no different than a snow shift. We're taking crews, we're assigning them to routes, and we're setting up shifts. And it kind of helped you could almost feel the tension in the room drop a little bit when he kind of reduced it to its simplest form. So he really has been a rock for the department. He reads employees, he works with employees, and really has been kind of a foundation of the success we've had since he's been hired. So great nominee. His wife Scott, who's shared us with him with us for so many years, is here tonight as well. So a little bit about Scott.
Director Bethel, I do have to ask, usually we have photos. We have no slides or photos this evening. Is there
I do have photos.
You do
Scott
too.
knows what those photos are. He said, do not put those photos up if my wife is going to be here. So we're going to leave it at that for tonight.
I would think with the title of Snow Commander, we would have some photos.
You would think, right?
So, I'm just saying, but anyway, so congratulations to you on a well-deserved
Thank you.
recognition, especially by your peers and the village and everyone. Thank you so much for your outstanding dedication to our village. And I know you had some shoes to fill because your mom also worked here at the
You
village
did?
for 20 years. And I know that she's watching over you, very proud of you for your service as well. And we know that you're retiring this year, so that will be a little tough, but I know that you've got so many that you've worked with and trained and shown the way, and just how we go above and beyond here in Woodridge. And I thank you very much for your service. And this recognition is so well deserved. So congratulations to you, your wife, and your family too. All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Congratulations. We do have a proclamation to be read this evening, and we've asked our outgoing trustee, the retiring trustee Krusek, to please read our Arbor Day proclamation.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees, and whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products, and whereas trees in our village increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community, and whereas trees are a source of joy and spiritual renewal, and whereas the Village of Woodridge is proud to proclaim that this is the 33rd year that the village is being recognized as a Tree City USA by the National Arbor Day Foundation and plans to continue its tree planting ways. Now, therefore, Gina Cunningham, Mayor of the Village of Woodridge, DuPage, Will, and Cook Counties, Illinois, does hereby proclaim Friday, April 25th, 2025 as Arbor Day in the Village of Woodridge and urge all residents to value and care for their trees.
Thank you very much, Trustee Krusek. Appreciate you reading the Arbor Day proclamation for us this year. And now we'll move to public comment. And in this section, we'll kind of walk you through a few steps. But so the next item is public comment, and it is for the proposed ordinance, which would continue the 1% grocery tax in the Village of Woodridge. Prior to taking public comments, however, we would have a brief presentation from our village staff, and we have here, and we welcome our village finance director, John Harrington, and he's going to go ahead and present this item to us. So,
great, thank you. Good evening. So we're going to do a little bit of a recap. We have discussed this at a prior board meeting, but the state of Illinois during their 2025 budget actually repealed the statewide tax on groceries with an effective date of January 1st. But as part of that repeal, it allowed municipalities, if they wish, they could reinstate that 1% local tax. So each municipality and every taxing body had the opportunity to either A, do nothing and then the tax would go away, or B, they could implement their own grocery tax, and with an effective date of January 1st. So on the board side, the board actually heard about this the first time as part of the fiscal year 24 budget. It had just come out that it has been repealed, and we just notified the board that this is something that we would be discussing at a later date. We then, at the March 6th study session, we spent some time talking about the grocery tax, what it meant, and then also looked at some other revenue options just to make the board aware of other options we could do outside of reinstating the grocery tax. And then we made sure we had all that information on the website. So we have a grocery tax page on our website with links to both meetings. So if anyone is interested in doing a deeper dive, it has information for the residents if they wish to learn more about this. So what is the grocery tax? A little history, it started in 1990. It used to be a statewide tax, and that was eliminated, but they wanted to allow municipalities to issue that 1% tax. And what they did in 1990 is basically cleaned up the process. So instead of having individuals, municipalities working at the individual grocery stores, they kind of cleaned it up and said, hey, we're going to manage this and transition the money directly to the municipalities. So you just didn't have, different groups doing different things. So, if the village does not do anything, we lose this opportunity to reinstate this tax permanently. So this is a one and done situation. So you either decide to reinstate it or it goes away, and that's it for the grocery tax for the Illinois. So we looked at the village. We have about $230,000 a year, which we receive in grocery tax. And this is something we're currently receiving. So one of the things we wanted to stress is that this is not a new tax. This is just keeping what's existing. So that $230,000 a year goes into our general fund. And that's pretty much the main operating fund of the village. It pays for public safety, it pays for snow plowing, it pays for code enforcement and road maintenance and everything that the village does for the residents. So losing this funding is something we would need to consider. If moving forward we didn't do it, we'd have to consider the level of service moving forward. So this is a 5-year projection of the general fund of the village, and just wanted to show what the effect is of that 230,000. As you can see, I mean, it drops down, and in green, you'll see our funding percentage of the village. In 2026, we do have that transfer out for the new public works building. But you can see that it does bring us down in 2028 and 2029. We would be in a deficit situation. Now, when we got to fiscal year 2028, we would look at alternatives, so we would not have a deficit situation. But the point is made that losing this funding does have an effect on the general fund. So just some background, are other communities doing this? A number of municipalities have already moved forward with reinstating this grocery tax. Approximately 45 as of February of 2025 are reinstating it. Some of our close by neighbors, Downers Grove, Lombard, Westmont, and Wheaton have reinstated the tax. This schedule kind of shows DuPage County and who are looking at it and who are not looking at it. So there are a handful of communities that are not reinstating it, but many of these communities are looking at other revenue options instead. I think one of the communities is considering adding 25 cents to their home rule sales tax, or maybe looking at other options. One thing also to consider, every municipality brings in different amounts. So for us, it's 230,000. There are communities that bring in millions of dollars, others bring in a lot less. So every community has a very unique perspective when we're looking at reinstating the grocery tax. So one of the things to discuss the grocery tax is who pays it. And one of the things that helps this tax specifically is it's not a full burden on the residents of Woodridge. If you look at this map here, this is kind of a map that we've used as part of the Lakota Group's work with the village. And it kind of shows that we get people from all communities, and we have those available to come shop in Woodridge. So the grocery tax, while residents who shop at our grocery stores certainly are going to pay it, it's also reducing the burden of our residents because people outside the village boundaries, also who come and buy groceries at Jewel or other grocery stores, they're actually paying that tax also, so it's less burden on our residents. So that's a real brief summary. I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Thank you very much, Director Harrington. I'd like to ask my fellow board members if anyone has any questions at this time.
All right, thank you.
Much. We'll now open it up to the public portion, public comment portion. So we're going to first pause and acknowledge any written public comments that we have received prior to the meeting on this topic. Administrator Stonich.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. We've received several written comments in advance that we will enter into the public record. The board has received copies of all these that have come through. I'll just list them by name. Aaron Bass, all on the grocery tax. Margaret Zielinski, Kelly Gavrick, Marcella Frostasi, Mike Konopasek, and Bradley Panic. Thank you.
Thank you. We've all received copies of all of those already, so thank you very much, and they're in our public record. So now I'm going to ask if there's any members of the public, if staff is aware or you do have a card, that have joined us who wish to comment on this item and have completed a comment card. Administrator Stonich, I see you have a card there.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I would like to welcome Lawrence Miller to the podium, please.
Hello, hi, please.
You can step on down to the podium,
Yes,
sir.
thank you.
And for anyone who is going to speak, you'll have 3 minutes. I'd ask you to start by giving your name and your address, And as you get close to the 3-minute mark, I will let you know you're running out of time.
Okay.
And you can move that microphone down a little easier for you. So
Thank you
there you
very
go.
much. We welcome you.
Yes, good evening. Thank you. My name is Lawrence Miller. I live at 2435 C Brunswick Circle, just a couple of blocks from here. I've been actually a resident for 44 years. So obviously, I'm very pleased with the community. You know, the previous mayor, you know, rest in peace. I mean, he was such a great mayor. You know, he did a lot of things. And I mean, I've been happy with the village. I guess really to start out, preface any comments I wanted to make is that I'm a little confused about the 1%. In other words, you know, I look, you know, I shop in Downers, I shop at Costco, everybody's showing 1.75% tax. And also Jewel is showing a 1.75% tax. So are we adding 1% onto top of that? Is that what they're asking to do? Because I thought for years earlier, prior to COVID or whatever all this happened, it was like 2%. You know, so are we basically looking at, you know, I guess it would be 2.75% in the end?
I'm going to ask Director Harrington, if you don't mind, please.
Well, so
Yes.
before you answer, Director Harrington,
Okay.
again, in public comment, it's not a Q&A, but after all the public comment, we can call staff up to try to answer the question. So, Director Harrington, you understand the question? Yes. Okay. So, do you have any further comments, sir?
I mean, well, you know, obviously I understand that you're looking for revenue and things of that nature. And I mean, I'm not, you know, I was an engineer and I had to control budgets and everything like that. You know, I'm retired, obviously. You know, responsible for $1 million projects. So I know, you know, budgets are important. They don't like it when you overrun. But it just seems like in this day and age, when now we're potentially dealing with tariffs and other increase and struggling people, that maybe it would be look for other avenues to, you know, to find the funding, you know, not penalize something that, you know, obviously there are many states in this country that don't even have a food tax, which is, you know, it doesn't really look desirable for this state. You know, there's a number of things that aren't done right in this state, but I'm not going to go there. But the reality is, I think that that's really punishing, you know, people food. I mean, I can see luxury items or, you know, other sales items, you know, that people are not a necessity of life, but food is a necessity. And, you know, and I think, you know, it would be wise to, you know, explore other options. You know, I mean, you know, I know everything is done perfectly in this village. I mean, I you know, I see they did a nice thing, but again, everybody that lives here doesn't have that perfect situation, and their funds are short. And I'm retired, and there's a lot of people in my community are retired on fixed income. So, and I'll tell you what, the raise of Social Security is never keeping up with inflation. So anyway, that's all I ask, is that they think about these matters when they make these decisions. So
Thank
that's
you.
about all I have to say. So thank you for
Absolutely.
the opportunity to make my comments. So
And we're going to have Director Harrington try to answer that question. So
Oh.
thank you.
So to answer your question, nothing will change moving forward. So if we reinstate this grocery tax, it's going to be status quo. So what you were charged yesterday will be the same
so it'd be the
percentage as you charged
1.75% is what
Yes,
it is.
wherever you shop.
Yeah.
If you shop in the Village of Woodridge, there will be no increase in your grocery tax, will not cause an increase.
Okay,
It's keeping the status quo
okay.
the same. So you'll be paying the same tax as you.
That we've
did
been
any
paying
other-
now. So if it didn't reinstate it, we go down to what, 1%?
Correct. If we didn't reinstate it, that tax would be removed. So for those grocery items that would have been charged, the grocery tax, there would be no grocery tax.
Oh, there would be no grocery tax.
For that 1% portion, it would go away.
So then it would drop to 0.75%. Because I mean, right now
I
there's,
don't know the percentage, but it would, whatever that charge on that grocery item, it would no longer qualify as a 1% because that tax would be gone.
okay,
We're
but
just keeping it as it was before.
see, that's what I'm confused about, the 1.75. Is the state getting part of that at the moment, or is
So I'd
that?
have to look at your bill and.
So if I could, I'm going to go ahead and what I'd like to do, since we have your information,
Yeah,
let us please do some research.
okay, I
And
appreciate
we
it.
will, through our finance department, get back to you on that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
All right, take care.
absolutely.
Have a
Thank
good
you
day.
very much. Now going to ask if there's any members of the public that would like to address the village board on this matter. We'll open it up to everyone. So you'll note that the grocery tax ordinance appears on tonight's agenda as the first item under the administrator's report. The board will consider voting on this item a little bit later once we get to that portion of our meeting. So just wanted to let everyone know we are not voting on that right now, okay? So we'll go ahead and move to comments that are not related to our agenda items. If there is anyone that does have a comment that would like to address the village board on anything that is not related on tonight's agenda, now is your time, please, to come up to the podium. Okay, seeing no one, we will go ahead and ask if there is any members, or excuse me, anything we've received prior, public comment.
Thank you, Mayor. We have one written comment on items not related to the agenda, and that has been submitted by a resident, James Stardrobe, and that has been entered into the record, and board members have been received a prior copy.
Thank you very much. So now we're going to pause and acknowledge any written public comments that have been received prior to our meeting this evening that do appear on tonight's agenda, and would open that up. Have we received anything, Administrator Stonich?
No, Mayor.
Any members of our audience here this evening that would like to address the village board on items that do appear on our agenda? Okay, well, we thank you very much for being here. We'll go ahead and move on. Going to now move to tonight's omnibus agenda. I'm going to ask please for a motion to approve items A and B and acceptance of C through F. A motion, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Trustee Page. A second. Second. Thank you, Trustee Antilles. Is there a request for any item to be considered separately this evening? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to ask our administrator to please review the omnibus for us.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the board, good evening. Item A, Resolution 2025-42, resolution approving Lombard joint bid 2025 for Lombard, Itasca, Bartlett, Roselle, Bensonville, Elmhurst, West Chicago, et cetera, for sidewalk slicing with Hard Rock Concrete Cutters, Inc. Item B, Ordinance 2025-12, an ordinance authorizing the disposal of personal property owned by the Village of Woodridge. And then item C, are prior accounts payable registers for 2025, and from months of February, March, April, and then December of 2024. Items D, E, and F are prior board meeting minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to ask our clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee Page,
Aye.
Trustee Martinez,
Aye.
Trustee Blair,
Aye.
Trustee Kagan,
Aye.
Trustee Annalise,
Aye.
Trustee Krusek.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. We're going to skip the mayor's report this evening. We do ask everyone to please stay connected to us on all of our wonderful social media options, as well as our village e-news. Lots going on, so hopefully you stay connected with us. Administrator Stonich, your report, please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. First, item A, Ordinance 2025-13, an ordinance implementing a municipal groceries retailers occupation tax and a municipal grocery service occupation tax for the Village of Woodridge. This proposed ordinance would create said tax at a rate of 1% effective January 1st, 2026. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Going to ask, please, for a motion to approve ordinance 2025-13.
So moved.
Thank you, Trustee Krusek, and a second.
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Kagan. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, if our clerk would please call the roll.
Trustee Martinez,
Aye.
Trustee Blair,
Aye.
Trustee Kagan,
Aye.
Trustee Annalise,
Aye.
Trustee Krusek,
Aye.
Trustee Page.
Aye.
Motion passes.
If I could just make a comment quickly. So this is something that we have spent a lot of time on, and I know that timing, it's not our timing. Unfortunately, we have been sent this information from the state, and we have done a lot of in-depth research, as well as just knowing that an impact such as what if we did not put in place or continue really the grocery tax, the impact to the village and our community with services, direct services that we actually perform to our residents and our neighbors throughout our community. I I just wanted to make that statement. This is not something we do lightly. We have taken quite a bit of time to really talk through and discuss if there's any even other options. And we have evaluated all of that extensively. So I do thank the board. I know that's not an easy decision. So thank you.
The next item B, ordinance 2025-14, is an ordinance amending the village code of the Village of Woodridge, Title 7, Chapter 5, Article D, Water and Sewer Regulations. These are fees, rates, and charges relating to Section 7-5D-2B. .1, effective with all usage billed on or after May 1st of 2025. This ordinance would increase water rates by 22 cents as a result of the rate increase or the pass-through rate increase from the DuPage Water Commission and the City of Chicago. The village's new water rate will be $9.26 per 1,000 gallons, of which 11 cents was already reflected in the 2025 budget.
Thank you very much. And if I could just clarify, this is a pass-through. So this is something that we are being charged as a village. And so I'm going to just want to state that before we go on here. And I'm going to ask, please, for a motion to approve ordinance 2025-14.
So moved.
Thank you. Is it Trustee Blair? Thank you very much. A second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Anteles. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, if our clerk would please call the roll.
Trustee Blair?
Aye.
Trustee Kagan?
Aye.
Trustee Annalise?
Aye.
Trustee Krusek?
Aye.
Trustee Page?
No.
Trustee Martinez?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you, everyone.
Next, item C is ordinance 2025-15. It's an ordinance granting a special use permit for an indoor recreation facility in the ORI district at 8102 Lamont Road. This is Unit 12. The applicant is Corey Sports. Director Clark is here to present, and the applicant is here and joined us as well this evening. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you. The property here is located on Lamont Road in a building that we are all familiar with, as we used to actually rent some space out of here prior to our new facility being built. The property here at 8102 Lamont Road is an industrial warehouse building that has many varying tenants in there. We have a vacancy of 8,000 square feet currently, of which we were approached by Corey Sports to use the facility for training for baseball. The Plan Commission heard this at a public hearing on April 7th, and there was a unanimous vote of support based on the evidence provided. The property is zoned ORI, which does list indoor recreational uses as a special use. And the reason is a lot of times they have to really look at their operations, the amount of people coming and going, because traffic and parking may be of a concern. So the facility, as you see it today, is a brick warehouse building. It's a fairly open space, which makes this ideal for a recreational use. There would not need to be a whole lot done to this space other than some removal of offices. But essentially, this is their goal of how it will look inside, where they will have pitching mounds, batting areas. There's a perimeter around the whole area that would allow people to walk through, but it is also going to be protected with fencing or mesh netting, as you can kind of see in the upper image there. So the majority of the folks that do come to these locations will be dropped off. The age ranges from as young as 8 years old to high school. And they tend to run operations during a second shift, where likely the majority of the existing businesses in here will be closed for the day, with the exception of a few that do have evening hours. The parking was heavily looked at. What's nice about this location is that it does have the ability for you to circle around the building as you may drop off your child and not have to necessarily park, but you can go around the building and exit. But the property is parked fairly well. There are currently 275 parking spaces, and with this new tenant occupying it, it still leaves it only requires 253, so there should be sufficient parking to support the use. Just to give you a sense, we have a variety of businesses in here. And we just highlight this proposed use would only need 21 parking spaces. We're excited to see this space occupied. What we are hearing in our community is there is a need for indoor recreational. Their heavy use likely is going to be during the November through March season as people look to go indoors to continue training. The operator, Ryan, is here as well. I'd like to have him introduce himself. This would be another location for them as they do have some other locations in the area. And we did visit those and look at them. We're really excited that this is going to be a nice new place. And we think it'll be an appropriate use. And as I mentioned, the Plan Commission did recommend approval. So this is the special use ordinance in front of the board this evening. And I would like to invite Ryan to the podium just to introduce himself to the mayor and the village board.
Thank you. Name's Ryan Curry. I'm actually a Woodridge resident also. I live over off 83rd Street. I went to Downer South, so I grew up in this area. And one of the things that we really want to do is bring something to the community that can help develop young athletes, young people, provide a great space, positive space, right? Energy space that they can feel good at. Obviously, the parents dropping them off. This is my 19th year of player development. We have another location that is larger in Romeoville, and I've been doing this for a really long time. And there was another location that was close to this across the street in Darien, but that has closed. So there's not really a whole lot of options for kids in this community to have this, and we would be really excited to bring it to the community of Woodridge.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. So nice to meet you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And Director Clark, thank you also, but let me just ask if any trustees might have any questions. Anyone have any questions at this time? All right, wonderful. Thank you very much. And thank you, Brian. So we have before us ordinance 2025-15. I'm going to ask for a motion to approve that ordinance.
So moved.
Thank you, Trustee Krusek. A second?
Second.
So let's just go Trustee Martinez this time. How about that? Any discussion on this item? If our clerk would please call the roll.
Trustee Kagan.
Aye.
Trustee Annalise.
Aye.
Trustee Krusek.
Aye.
Trustee Page.
Aye.
Trustee Martinez.
Aye.
Trustee Blair.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Wonderful. Congratulations, Brian. We appreciate you choosing Woodridge and living here as well. Thank you so much.
Next, item D, ordinance 2025-16. It's an ordinance proposing the establishment of Dormant Special Service Area number 12 of the Village of Woodridge and the imposition and levy of a tax at a rate equal to the rate of or amount of tax sufficient to produce revenues required to provide the special service area in and for such area. This is related to a detention pond facility that is related to a new speculative industrial building that is proposed at 17524 Bluff Road. We welcome the applicants from Crow Holdings here this evening as well. And several items, the next subsequent items are related to Crow Holdings petition, and Director Clark is here to present.
Thank you. I will go over the next 5 items just holistically, and if there's any questions, we can stop at each one. But the first item we have here is the dormant SSA. But quickly, as a history, we have been working with Crow Holdings since May of 2024, where we first introduced a concept plan to Plan Commission and Village Board. That was a successful use of the concept plan because it actually allowed them to sit down with some of the property owners, and because of that, they were able to expand the project and bring some more of those properties as part of the development. They moved forward with their preliminary plans as the property was required to be annexed into the Village of Woodridge and given a map amendment for the ORI zoning, which they did accomplish that and was all approved at the December 5th, 2024 meeting. So lastly, we're at the final plan and plat. That's where we have finalized everything to the full details of engineering and the recording of the plat. This was presented at Plan Commission on March 17th, 2025. Here is the industrial speculative building. You see, I've highlighted on the right-hand side in blue, there is a large stormwater facility needed on the property. And as a policy, we have been moving forward with any of these new developments and establishing the dormant SSA. That is to protect the village in the future in the event there is a failure of the association to maintain these necessary improvements, such that the village could enact a special tax to maintain that in the event the property owner fails to do so. This is the first step in that process as we propose the SSA, and then later on, about in June, we come back where we have the public hearing and we formally establish the SSA. So that is item number 1. Item number 2 is the final site plan, which is substantially in compliance with the preliminary plans that were discussed, with some minor changes as we have finalized engineering and gotten through all of those details. Really, the change that we had moving forward was there some improvements that were needed, specifically with our utility lines that are existing in the right-of-way on Bluff Road. Our code requires all existing or overhead lines to be buried. And there was some nuances with trying to have that happen because of the right-of-way that's existing is in the jurisdiction of Romeoville. And we learned that there was some complications with that. So we did work through that as a team, and the overhead lines as part of this project will be buried, but they will be on the private property of this development, of which they are working through those necessary easement documents to officially relocate those within their property. And that was one change from the preliminary plan to the final plan. And then lastly, the property, as we worked through the landscaping code, our update to the zoning code did allow for some flexibility in the requirement for an irrigation system, of which this property is looking to, instead of an irrigation system, their preference is to use the property and landscape it more with native landscaping or landscaping that is more drought tolerant. And this updated plan is reflecting those changes in the landscape material. So that is a slight change from the preliminary plan approval. Lastly, this project also is one of our first projects that is under the new requirement for the tree preservation ordinance, which now requires a fee in lieu. So the property as it sits is unable to accommodate all the tree replacements that is required. Therefore, they will be paying a fee in lieu of around $93,200, which will be also reflected in the approvals. But I just want to note this is one of our first properties that is subject to that code requirement. The purpose of the ordinance, though, was to allow for areas like this to develop, but in the event trees can't be replaced, we can replace them throughout the community. And so that is what that fund will be able to accomplish. And we can hopefully place trees that might make more sense in our community. Next, we discovered that there was a thoroughfare, an unnamed thoroughfare. This area, as you can remember, was all platted around the 1950s and 60s. So they found an unimproved thoroughfare that was needing to be vacated. As part of this vacation, the village will be indemnified in the event. There are no easements found. However, the developer has agreed to provide the indemnification documents in the event down the road something should come forward that the village is not liable for any issues. So we have worked through that. It's going to be subject to village attorney approval, but that was something that was updated in our packet recently. But this would basically vacate this thoroughfare as part of this final approval process, and we have the proper indemnification documents to protect the village. As part of all of our agreements, we have the improvement agreement. The takeaways from this particular project are noted in that the structure of the deal is slightly different than we have had with other developments. Therefore, the letter of credit will be posted by the general contractor. Typically, it's posted by the developer. It's still a letter of credit. It still will ensure that the improvements will be guaranteed in the event there's an issue. So that's just a minor change based on the way we had to work with the current developer and their project. In addition, the requirement to bury the overhead lines is in the improvement agreement. If there's some issue with a line that is unable to be buried, we have a fee in lieu for that pole in the event that it cannot be buried. Again, that's to allow the village to use those dollars elsewhere in our community. That makes sense. Another issue that the development came across, this property, it falls under the Illinois ILAW. The Illinois American Water is the water source provider. So there was some delays in getting their application as they have to go through the ICC and their hearings. So in order to assist them and work through that, they are in communication. They are fully aware that they're going to be providing water to this development. However, without the ICC's hearing, they can't formally apply for the IEPA construction permit, and they would like to start construction as they are in for the building permit. And so that is at their own risk, and they are fully aware of that. And the condition in the improvement agreement, though, is in the event they fail to get those approvals and permits, they will not be issued a final certificate of occupancy. So that's noted in the improvement agreement as well. Those are my highlights. I'm happy to answer any questions. We do have Matt here, the director, managing director of Crow Holdings, as well as their team, Arco Murray, who is the general contractor. Happy to bring them as well to the podium if you would like to ask them questions, or myself.
Thank you very much, Director Clark. Any trustees have any questions? Any follow-up questions? Okay, we thank you very much. Thank you for being here this evening as well. So we have before us we're going to take them individually, okay? So the first ordinance before us is I'm going to ask for a motion to approve ordinance 2025-16. A motion, please.
So moved.
Thank you, trustee Page. A second.
Second.
Thank you, trustee Blair. Any discussion on this item? Our clerk would please call the roll.
Trustee Annalise?
Aye.
Trustee Krusek?
Aye.
Trustee Page?
Aye.
Trustee Martinez?
Aye.
Trustee Blair?
Aye.
Trustee Kagan?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Next item E, ordinance 2025-17, an ordinance granting a final plat of subdivision and final site plan approval for the property at 17524 Bluff Road. Thank you.
Thank you. Going to ask for a motion, please, to approve ordinance 2025-17, please.
So moved.
Thank you, trustee Martinez. A second.
Second.
Thank you, trustee Krusek. Any discussion on this item? Our clerk would please call the roll.
Trustee Krusek?
Aye.
Trustee Page?
Aye.
Trustee Martinez?
Aye.
Trustee Blair?
Aye.
Trustee Kagan?
Aye.
Trustee Annalise?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Next item F, ordinance 2025-18 is an ordinance approving a plat vacating a portion of prescriptive right-of-way at 17524 Bluff Road.
If I could please have a motion to approve ordinance 2025-18.
So moved.
Thank you, trustee Antilles. A second.
Second.
Thank you, trustee Krusek. Any discussion on this item? If our clerk would please call the roll.
Trustee Page?
Aye.
Trustee Martinez?
Aye.
Trustee Blair?
Aye.
Trustee Kagan?
Aye.
Trustee Annalise?
Aye.
Trustee Krusek?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Next item G, resolution 2025-43, a resolution authorizing the mayor and village clerk to execute a certain improvement agreement between the village of Woodridge and Crow Holdings, also related to 17524 Bluff Road.
Thank you. If I could please have a motion to approve resolution 2025-43.
So moved.
Thank you, trustee Martinez. A second, please.
Second.
Thank you, trustee Page. Any discussion on this item? If our clerk would please call the roll.
Trustee Martinez.
Aye.
Trustee Blair.
Aye.
Trustee Kagan.
Aye.
Trustee Annalise.
Aye.
Trustee Krusek.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Item H, Resolution 2025-44. It's a resolution authorizing the mayor and the clerk to execute a certain traffic regulation agreement between the Village of Woodridge and Crow Holdings, 17524 Bluff Road.
If I could please have a motion to approve Resolution 2025-44.
So moved.
Thank you, Trustee Krusek. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Antilles. Any discussion on this item? Our clerk would please call the roll.
Trustee Blair.
Aye.
Trustee Kagan.
Aye.
Trustee Annalise.
Aye.
Trustee Krusek.
Aye.
Trustee Page.
Aye.
Trustee Martinez.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Last item, I, Resolution 2025-45, a resolution authorizing the mayor and village clerk to execute a certain agreement for 2025 construction inspection services between the Village of Woodridge and V3 companies. This is related to the Crow Holdings proposed development. Thank you.
Thank you. If I could please have a motion to approve Resolution 2025-45, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Trustee Krusek. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Annalise. Any discussion on this item? Our clerk would please call the roll.
Trustee Kagan.
Aye.
Trustee Annalise.
Aye.
Trustee Krusek.
Aye.
Trustee Page.
Aye.
Trustee Martinez.
Aye.
Trustee Blair.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. With no further active agenda items or unfinished or new business to come before the board this evening, going to just take a moment, and before we adjourn, we do have an executive session. So what we will do is immediately following this meeting, we will move into, as a board, the executive session to review and discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body, collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees. So at this time, I'm going to ask for a motion, Trustee Krusek, to adjourn your last meeting, regular meeting of the village board, and then we will go into our executive session.
So moved.
Thank you, Trustee Krusek. A second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Page. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It is 7:54 PM, and we